Welcome to Cosmic Divide, episode number 47, and today we're going to go through the history of Valorant, and we're going to talk some modern Valorant as well, with someone who knows way more than most of the guests that I bring on to this podcast, and that is Mr. NBS, former head coach of Ascend, current head coach of TSM, champions winner. And we're going to get into all of that and more as time goes on. Welcome, NBS, to Cosmic Divide, and back to Ascend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've been watching Cosmic Divides and, honestly, all of the podcasts Valorant related for years and years. So it's really nice to be here, to be part of it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yes, and as I say, for those of you who aren't as familiar with MBS, he used to be the coach of Ascend for the majority of Ascend's existence, I think, and now is the head coach of TSM. But we've met MBS. We met in Bulgaria, and I remember, or I hope that I remember correctly, that unlike a lot of maybe, a lot of coaches in Valorant, it's probably like, oh, I used to play CS, and then I was a coach in CS, and now I'm a head coach in Valorant. That's the kind of standard stuff. If I remember rightly, you didn't take so much of a standard path to get to Valorant. So if I am remembering correctly, please enlighten everyone on the weird path that you took in getting here.
All right, so it's been like probably 20 years, so it might take, if I go detail by detail a while, but like the short version, and I've said the story multiple times now, so I got like pretty good at it. I started like when I was young. Even like my dad used to be like back in the day, you could say a professional esports player. He used to play like a
Pong?
World War II Il-2 game, like a simulator, aircraft, that kind of stuff. He went to China in a tournament. So that was where, I picked up my kind of early passion for competition in esports. But me, myself, yeah, like I've been a player for more than 10 years myself. I played Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2, League of Legends, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and PUBG was the last one. I think like main key points was for me in my career at least. I did play in League of Legends World Championship. Some people know, some people don't. I think that's pretty cool. I did have a chance to get beaten up by Faker and SKT1. It was cool. I did shake his hand after we were humbled in Summoner's Rift. So that was like a big part as well in my career. And then yeah, the last bit was PUBG. That was the game where I switched to coaching. I was like 27 by the time, and mechanics, not getting younger, that type of stuff. So I did switch to coaching for a couple of months. It was going really good, and then Valorant came out. I'm like, okay, Riot Games, I know them from League of Legends. I trust them. Good experience. The thing they did with League, amazing. Like probably still up to this day, like the biggest esports we have in the world. And PUBG Corp, questionable decisions. Was hard to be a pro in that game, so it was kind of I took like a leap of faith with Riot. I wanted to get into Valorant from pretty much ground zero, and that's what I did in 2020. I was trying to make connections, Lithuanian players, international players, people I know from PUBG, whatever like whatever I could do, and we started playing some tournaments, stuff like that. We did finish like by the end of 2020. There was the end of the year, the culmination of the year was first strike, right, in every region, I think, or like at least in
Yeah.
NA in EU. We managed to go like to top 8 as a mixed team, and that's where my players and we got kind of scouted or spotted the first time. And I got reached out by Crimson from Ascend. Back then they were Raise Your Edge. They had to like rebrand after, and he pretty much told me, hey, we are looking to enter Valorant. I know you from PUBG. Like we've actually met, him and me, before. We were not on the same team, but we were had a lot of contact. So he offered me the head coach position together with Coldamenta, joining the team, and pretty much to build a roster.
Yeah.
So that was like my entry to the game, pretty much. Yeah.
So you were on this kind of. So when exactly did you join? Did you join Raise Your Edge or did you join Ascend?
I did join Razor Edge, and
Okay.
pretty much as you said at the start, like I was in Ascend, and even before Ascend, Razor Edge from
Yeah.
the very start until they quit.
Yeah.
So
So
all the way through,
I mean that is
Uh,
great. I mean, considering like how short generally esports terms kind of go with how long you stay on any one team, that is incredibly long to be on, especially like in a new esport on a new team, essentially a new org. That's incredible to go from like early 2021, if not 2020, all the way through to what 2020, like 2024.
2024, yeah,
Yeah,
last year, yeah.
2024. So yeah, that's an incredible amount of time to stay with one team, and there was a lot that went on during that time. I mean, going through all these Ascend games, going back through time. I mean, this is really the part that I'm most interested in for this, because obviously most people, and probably a decent amount of people watching this as well, won't have even been around in Valorant. I didn't start playing Valorant probably until like mid 2021. So even I'm not familiar with all of the lore of stuff that went on for all of this. And really, what I want to ask you, and the thing that I'm super interested in, because I only heard this story, but it's this tournament here, the Stage 1 EU Masters, which happened in like early 2021. Patch 2.03 is what we're on here. This Team Heretics versus Ascent, and the story that I've heard is that in the rules at the time, it didn't say that the coach couldn't be the IGL, that the coach could just tell people, and that you were doing this. Is that true? Were you IGLing a team from the coaching position during a tournament?
Yes, I did. Basically, back then it was a new game, and it was like a mixture, people coming from CS, from Overwatch, from all over the place.
Yeah.
And even the tournament officials, they were, I believe, like a mixed bunch as well. There was no global rule set or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
It was like legit the first real year when they're starting like these master tournaments. And nobody knew anything, including the admins. So I was like always very technical with the rules as well. Like I'm always checking, I always read my rule books. I do my research. So I don't remember like who brought it up, but somebody said because like I didn't know these things. Can like I'm not I didn't come from CS. I didn't know
Yeah.
if coaches come, do they not? I'm not sure, right? So I asked admins, and they told us, yes, you can. I'm like, okay. So I did. Obviously, this came to light because we did win, right? We released our comms video back in the day, and well, because it was allowed, why not release it, right?
Yeah.
And then public started like questioning all of that stuff. However, I'm pretty sure there was, more teams doing that.
Yeah.
Was it,
You were just the best
pride?
at it.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it, looking back from now, it looks fucking stupid. I'm sorry for
No,
swearing,
no, you go for it. You
but
swear.
yeah, it looks stupid. But like honestly, nobody knew anything,
Yeah.
even organizers. So I did ask. They said yes, and yeah, I was talking during the game. Um, that did help us. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like that was crazy. Like the start
Yeah.
of the year, IGLing team to victory, and the end of the year, another questionable kind of topic that we're probably gonna get to later as well.
Yes, yes. There's
Um,
more things to
so
talk
yeah,
about in terms of questionable decisions. But this, I mean, I mean VLR, this is handy. This was 1,471 days ago, this grand final, just to put it into perspective how long ago that was. And yeah, I love stories like this, right? Of just like the absolute Wild West. I mean, let's take a look at some of the comps as well, because I'm sure there'll be look at Reyna, both teams playing Reyna. Remember Sage? Remember when Sage was a pick?
yeah.
Bind. You're playing a no raise bind. I mean, Jet was
There is
super OP back then, but yeah.
There is one series that I also remember that probably nobody remembers. If you could go back to the list and look up Raise Your Edge versus Rix.GG Thunder.
Oh, we
It was
got a
from the
way to go back.
same tournament. It was like
Oh, it might be.
qualifiers to this Masters. Raise Your Edge versus Rix.GG. Yeah. Um,
Hold on, I'll
so
find it. Give me a second.
basically leading up to this Masters tournament, that everyone had to play qualifiers, right? And we're playing GG, which was like another tier 2 team. And if you click on the second map on Ascent, oh, it's actually a different series. I think we played them
Oh,
multiple times.
hold
But
on, hold on. I'll find it. I'll find it.
yeah, it was 2-1 to us. But the story there was we were getting like we lost first map, and we were getting our asses kicked on the second map, and we made the comeback of the of the European Valorant back then. That we didn't really had like huge things, right? So we lost bind on Ascent. We were what 3-11. Yeah, we're down
Yeah,
3-11.
11-3
That's when
down.
we make the comeback. We win the series. We qualify to Masters. We win the Masters. That was, at for the start of 2021, it was freaking cool.
Yeah.
Not many people remember this, but I definitely do. And yeah, it was really cool to like take part in Masters as well. Like when I said I was trying to get into Valorant scene from the start. 2020 was the year where all the orgs hopped in. Like your
Yeah.
G2, Team Liquid, um, FPX, like all of the bigger names as well. So I was like a little bit afraid I'm gonna miss on the initial bubble, but then I was like super happy and um, maybe it was part of why I stayed with Ascend for so long, for giving me this chance, because I was like getting a little bit worried, and then they come with this offer, and I'm like, yes, let's do it. And yeah, we started like a start. It was the start of something great.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at like the results here as well. I mean, like you say, you're signing essentially for, an unknown org essentially at that point, right? I mean, literally a new org. Um, look at the wins. Apart from NIP, who apparently struggled with a bit, everyone else, well, you lost Team Vitality once, but most other, you beating Fnatic. Who's on this
Yeah,
Fnatic
yeah,
team? Let's see. Yeah, Boaster, Durka, Magnum, Mystic, Doma. People will know that. Beating them with
yeah.
this team. So when exactly? Talk me through a big change that happened from the team that obviously won champs. Was Coldamenta out, Zeke in? What happened
All right.
there?
It's been like a long time. This is also like a story from the backstages and
Mm,
from the behind the curtains. Um, we didn't want Calder to leave. We just won Masters 1. We almost made to Masters 2. I think we're like one series away from making it. So obviously we're doing really good. And G2, meanwhile, we're not. Just last year, like in 2020, they won everything. And in 2021, they were struggling a lot. They like made changes, one of which was acquiring Zeke from my old team, like my mix in 2020. They
mm,
acquired Zeke. It didn't work out. They benched him like a few months later. And then they decided they want an IGL, because I think like was it Mixwell IGLing back then, and they wanted like to swap Mixwell to Duelist or something like that. So they wanted IGL, and G2 being like a Spanish kind of based organization, Coldamenta being a Spain player himself, they wanted him.
mm-hmm,
For Coldamenta himself, he openly told us, guys, this is my dream team, my dream organization. I want to go.
mm,
And Ascend said, okay, but they have to pay a normal market price for you, and we're letting you go. We're not letting you go for free because, well,
yeah.
business, right? We are winning. He is the IGL of the winning team. He has value. And then the negotiation started between G2 and Ascend. And it was some funny fucking shit. I mean, I cannot say everything, right? But I knew everything, and you know, um, it was that type of negotiation where G2 wants a player, they offer like a very little amount, very very little amount. like not even worth, I remember Ascend CEO said like I almost instantly ended negotiations when I heard the first. Like it was just kind of, you know,
Yeah.
almost spit in the face type of thing. Um, and then their negotiation strategy after was they increased the amount like by 4 times, but it was still low because the amount they started with was like almost, zero, let's say. And then they say, "Hey, but we increased our offer by 4 times. How can you say no?" Like, come on, man. Like, 0 times 4 is still zero, right? But it was a very stressful period for us as well. Um, we ended up doing the trade. The orgs couldn't really reach an agreement, and then I said, "Listen, nobody's like we can't progress, we can't practice. Calder isn't happy. Um, he wants to leave. Orgs are unhappy with the deal." I said, "Listen, G2 has Zeke. I know Zeke from half a year ago. He's a great player. I'm not sure why he's benched in G2. Let's offer him offer like a trade." So I send did that, and it worked out. We got Zeke. They got Calder. We lost IGL. We're like, well, shit. We have to do something. So Bone Cold stepped up. He was like IGLing before we picked up in like the depths and dungeons of Finnish tier 3 Valorant, somewhere in the
In
snowy mountains.
2021.
Yeah. And he stepped up and he was, our like main IGL with like Starks and Zeke assisting in mid round because they had like great reads. And that was like the new identity of the team. And we started winning. We started winning all of the scrims. Like the first scrims we had when Zeke joined was when teams from Iceland, like first Masters Iceland tournament.
Yeah.
They came to Europe to boot camp just
Yeah.
before tournament. So your Sentinels, like all the Pacific teams and everything. And we were screaming all of those teams, and we were like crushing most of them. We're like, God damn, we just
Yeah.
made a change, and we're this good, God damn.
Yeah. Uh,
So it was pretty cool.
and now I want to take you maybe a bit more down a more painful memory because you didn't quite make Reykjavik, but you did make the second international tournament, which was Berlin, and you ended that tournament playing this game. And
Yeah.
this game is still brought up. This game is still remembered because
Yes.
100 Thieves' strategy was to avoid Cned. And this still, like, whenever, a team seemingly just runs away from, like, a player who's opping or whatever, still people bring up oh, yeah, it's like 100 Thieves versus Cned. So talk me through this game. I mean, you lose in OT to 100 Thieves must be pretty frustrating. Talk me through because this would have been your first international, right, as well. So a pretty big moment, I would assume.
Yeah. This Masters itself, we're like very confident because we won like European,
Yeah.
qualification leading up to it. I think we boot camped. I even had like a sheet of our old scrims, like I have everything, from back in the day. Preparation leading up to Masters 3, we were boot camping. And where was it? This one. We played 48 scrims in a boot camp, and we won 45 of those. So it was 45-3. Like we were really good, and we're very confident going into Masters 3. It was like a little bit disappointing, I would say, with the opponents we had to play because we had to play like Supermassive Blaze twice, which we
Mm,
played multiple times in Europe. We wanted to play international teams. We wanted to like see how everyone else is doing, and then we got kind of slapped around by Vision Strikers, which was like very hard team to play against with all of their prep and stuff. And then this game against 100 Thieves, I think it really like two things came to light. Honestly, like one, we had the problem of closing out Breeze games in general, and later it came back to show in grand finals against Gambit as well.
mm,
And then two, just experience. Like I had in my team a bunch of young kids, a couple from Fortnite, like some CS and stuff like that, without any international experience at all, and we're facing against Nitro, Steel, those guys.
yeah, Hiko. Yeah.
So they were shouting, Starks were shouting back, Steel is shouting, Starks are shouting, all of that stuff. And we kind of forgot to focus on ourselves a little bit. Some stuff got messy, the fundamentals dropped. and then we just couldn't close it. And yes, like, you know, up to this day, people remember it. I still think it was like a really valuable experience for us. We could not have won champs, no chance, if we didn't get this experience before. So it was like, you know, a valuable lesson, I think, for all of us. And even though it was really kind of, we were sad and disappointed in ourselves because we knew we're like up to this day, I think, you know, we were the better team. You know, people
Yeah,
say that even though they lose, but
yeah,
that day they were the better team. But like in general, we were like very confident against everyone. Um, so it was kind of sad to go in like top 8, but still, you know, top 8, like we made it out of groups, first international. It was okay.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, dodge the Cned kind of thing worked.
yeah, yes, it did. You spoke about Breeze. Let's get to it. The thing that I perhaps most want to ask you about, from your perspective as a coach, of course, is this game. Ascend versus Keyed Stars. Champs. This was the first game, right? Was it the opening
Yes,
game?
yes,
And was it this Breeze?
yes, it was.
And for those of you who don't know, well, I had to go searching. I had to go searching for it because, you know, like VODs from back here are like not that easy to find even. Like, you know, some the VODs are all private, you know, for the official VODs. So you have to go and find, you know, like little videos that people made at the time of this cipher camera just there. Hold on, let me go back. Let me go back a few frames. A cipher camera which was bugged, which allowed you to see kind of through this texture, right? So this you can kind of see here that this is missing, but it's not meant to be missing. And so
Yeah.
this
When
cipher
you look
camera,
from the other side, there is no gap from the other
yeah,
side,
yeah,
so you
yeah,
cannot see the camera,
yeah. So the
but camera
players
can
can't
see.
see this camera, but the camera can see them. So it's a bugged camera, and Vivo Keyed used this in like what was it, 7 rounds or something, 8 rounds.
Yeah,
It was something like that. And again, we talked, you know, early on about, you know, the rules not being, you know, formally finalized and all of that, and you know, admins maybe not fully understanding what exactly was going on. The ruling on this, I mean, I don't remember it specifically. Maybe you do, but the
I
ruling on
do.
this it is fucking mental. It's a fucking mental ruling. Do you want to explain like what the
Yeah.
fuck happened in this game?
Okay, so basically, like give like a little bit of context.
Yeah.
Leading up to champions during the year of 2021, there was 2 teams that got penalized for exactly this camera.
Hmm.
One in Europe, it was Giants, and then some like another team in Pacific. I do not remember the name. And both teams lost the map because they were abusing the bug, right? These bugs, they're always in the rule set. The rule sets, like, you know, all the banned exploits and bugs are given to the teams. You have to go through them as a coach. Then you have to like inform your players, you know, we can do this, that, and that's that. Obviously, by logic as well, whenever something is weird in a game, like that camera where you can see through something that from the other side you cannot see through, it's just like basic kind of logic. You always have to ask um, TOs and like if you can use it or not. So yeah, this camera was not something new. Basically, you know, internationally it was known. Everyone knew that. Um, so going up to the game, it was our first game. Us as a team, we had a weakness. We Our weakness was playing against teams that shoot you hard in the face. So Turkish, Brazilian type of teams, you know, they spread, they play solo everywhere, and they just shoot you with a vandal. For us, it was hard because our team was like very fluidy, read macro movements, always kind of beat enemies' rotations. Like our players were very good by reading enemies' movements. You know, like we would understand when a fake is a fake before enemies, you know, do it even like that type of stuff. So we're like winning most of our games by being smarter, and being smarter against Brazilian and Turkish teams was very hard because they would just shoot you. So we knew this would be like a hard stylistic matchup going into it already. The maps were also not ideal because, as you know, like maps like Icebox and Breeze, long range maps, they're good for taking duels with Vandal, and what we had in the series. So it was not the best kind of pool as well for us. And yeah, we got to the third game. Okay, so we got to the third game. We lost on yeah, we lost basically. You know, the tournament, like the first game is over for us. We get into the shuttle. We're waiting in the shuttle usually like for around 10 minutes. It's been 10, 20, 30. We're not leaving. We're, kind of getting antsy a little bit. And then I get pulled out of the shuttle by head of esports from Ascend. And he said that we need, like, the admins want to talk to us. So me, him, we go to the main admins, like next to the stage. And they tell us that they have been like informed that VivoKid has been using like a banned camera. We knew exactly what camera she meant because we saw it before as well in other regions and in our own region when Giants got disqualified. So like we knew, they said they used the camera. I'm like, okay, I know which camera. Um, Obviously during the game it's very hard to notice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're like, okay, so what's gonna happen? And they said initially they're gonna give us the map because that's how the ruling was done before. They want to stay consistent. And that's what they did. They just gave us the breeze. It means we won the series 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, okay, it's fair. It's not the way you want to win, but rules are there for a reason, right? If you break rules, you have to get like some
Yeah.
kind of punishment. However, Riot made a very big mistake where they tried to go into too much detail on their post, like online, when they
Yes.
explained why they gave us the win. They started counting the rounds where the camera was used. I think it was like 6 rounds or something. Then they added like another round because of economical kind of advantage or whatever. And so they were like very specific, and they made sure we reached 13, and that's it. But they made a mistake by counting the rounds, and fans found the mistake instantly, and the internet was blowing up. So now Mr. Riot has to make a decision. And basically, we come back to the hotel. So imagine, like, all we know is that, okay, we won
Mm.
after losing because
Yeah.
they broke the rules. We go back to the hotel. We're preparing for next day. I don't remember. Like, we were maybe like our next game was supposed to be winner of Envy and like some other team. So we're like starting to prepare. 11 o'clock in the evening, we get a call from Riot, and they're telling us we are not sure about the ruling. We're gonna stay in touch. So they tell us that they're not sure what they're gonna do. Like, cool. So what do we do? And they said, wait. So we're waiting until like 1 or 2 a.m. We don't know. Are we playing tomorrow? Are we not playing tomorrow? No fucking clue. And then like, yeah, like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. It was like quite late. We get a call and they say, listen, we have to change the ruling. You have to replay the game by being 7-0 up.
Which, uh,
What?
a fucking
I have never seen this in
yeah.
my life in any game. It was crazy.
Yeah, so that's why on VLR, like you start 7-0 up, right? But the game actually starts here, I
Yeah.
think, right? Yeah. So I mean, what a bizarre. I mean, people obviously go back to the other big kind of like bug problem I think that Riot had was the FPX versus XSET game with the turret bug, where they had to go back and play it. But this one I think is so much stranger. Yeah, it's so weird like that they would go, well, we're gonna replay the entire map, but you start 7-0 up. Like it's so it
It's in
makes no
between,
sense. It makes no
Yeah,
it makes
you
no
either
sense.
restart the map or you give the win, one or the other, but you
Yeah.
don't go in the middle. Give like
Yeah.
half,
And
Yeah,
I
it was
remember as well, like I remember watching the second version of the game, and of it, like, and they start winning, right? Like they start coming back, even though they were 7-0 down, and eventually you're able to kind of stem the tide. But take me through what are you thinking, like mid game? Vivo Kid are like actually coming back. It's like what 8-7 or something like that. What are you thinking
they,
at
they
that
tied.
moment?
They tied the game, I think. Was it? It was
It was
9-9.
9-9. Yes, it was. Yeah, yeah,
So
9-9.
okay, imagine we're going back on the stage and we're 7-0 up. What
Yeah,
is the only outcome that is possible in our minds is to win. If we do not win the game, we will be known as clowns
yeah, clown.
forever.
Yeah.
So imagine the players, how much pressure that is on them.
Mm.
It is crazy, like unbelievable amounts of pressure. It's not even, just going to an official. It's going into official that you have to win. Otherwise, you're gonna be clowned on for years and years and years. So the me as a coach during that game, I thought we lost. Like when it was 9-9, even like 7-9, because they were
Yeah.
just and they were playing good. They were playing no fear. They were angry. They were playing
Yeah.
angry man's Valorant, and also shooting hard. So it was really rough, and I think I was the happiest man at my players, the happiest coach ever when my players actually turned it around. I don't know how they did. I don't think I helped them. I don't remember. I think the pressure was also on me. Um, I don't remember how we came back, but we did, and I was forever grateful to the guys that they actually managed to turn it around somehow. I think it's like one of the hardest things ever in this game. You know, up there with Fnatic's comeback in the kickoff against Loud. I think this was like that kind of stuff because going in, being 7-0 up, artificial, not really, right? The pressure on the players was so huge, and people don't talk about the other side of the coin, right? Usually people only say Vivo Kid are the victims. Well, fuck not, they're not, right? They were abusing a
Yeah,
glitch, and
they did abuse a
um,
bug.
we didn't ask for that as well. Like we did not
Yeah.
ask for any of this. It's not the way we wanted to win. So it was just like a very unfortunate kind of scenario, and I think it was just like a mistake from Riot to kind of go too much detail. They should have made the decision one way or another, replay the game, or give us the map, or don't do anything. Like
Yeah.
I don't care, but putting everyone in that position was pretty rough. But
Yeah.
learning process. It was the first champs after all, and
Yeah.
um, I think we get like way better rulings these days probably. So
Yeah, I mean that. Imagine being the admin. It's a nightmare, isn't it? Like, guys, you surely know about this camera. like you say, like everyone knows about this camera. Did you really have to use it? like, come on, did you really have to win champs and make us, But yeah, just a crazy decision. And I think, honestly, like, because I was like, this is when I mean, the reason I got into Valorant esports, really, I think I got quite lucky with the timing, because I started playing Valorant for a bit, and then the first thing I watched was actually the first Masters International tournament, right? So, and then that started getting me into it, and by champs I was like really into it, and I remember just thinking like, what the fuck is going on, right? Because I only come from a traditional sports background, right, where like they've been going on for so long, everyone knows the rules. There's very rarely anything that is like, that controversial in terms of like you're having to go back and undo things or anything like that. Like, and yeah, this was like a what the fuck. And then obviously to carry on that story, of course, you then win champs. So now we can go from like the strange to the very happy, because you then come to this moment, Ascend versus Gambit. Now, I assume coming into this game, when you got to the grand final, I assume that, you were probably pretty familiar with Gambit. I'm sure you'd played them quite a few times, or at least, scrimmed them quite a few times. They were obviously the Masters Berlin winners of the previous international. So when you're coming into this game against Gambit at this point, how were you, what was your thoughts, right? Were you thinking like, oh, we're in, we're the underdogs here? Or were you like, nah, I feel good about our team, we're gonna win this?
so just for like some context, right? Like people don't really remember the details because well they were not there, but our team was good.
Yes.
Um, Without even the loss of 100 Ts, without the Vivo kit incident. In between Masters 3 and Champions, we went into um, I think it was like tier 2 tournament, LAN into Barcelona. We won without dropping a map. Then we had in Europe, we had Red Bull home ground. We didn't drop a single map until finals versus Liquid. And it was the Liquid era, if you remember, like
Yeah.
when Nivera joined Liquid
Nivera just
in like
joined, yeah.
September, yeah,
They started
they were
frying.
winning everything.
Yeah.
So we didn't drop a single map until we met Liquid, and we lost to them in the grand finals of Red Bull, 1-3. Right? Every map was won by 2 rounds, so like 13-11, 11-13, 15-17, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
In champs as well, we did not, except the Vivo kit, right? Except
Yeah.
that series. After that, we did not lose a single map as well, up until grand finals with Gambit. So we're like consistent. We're
Yeah.
consistently good, right?
And you're beating
Um,
teams like Envy, who obviously
yes.
were, in the grand finals of the last Masters.
So
You're beating Liquid as well. Yeah.
people remember Ascend as the best bind team, right? Because we had like a
Yes.
24-1 run. But in reality, at that time, we were the best bind, split, and Ascend team as well. So at 3 maps where we pretty much cannot lose, and that's a pretty good
Always
fucking
handy.
series.
Always handy to
Yeah,
have 3
that
maps
is
where
a
you
good
never
position.
lose.
Like, honestly, we're winning all of the reasons and scrims, but we just, had the choking problem in officials. So like our map was really strong. And regarding Gambit themselves, Gambit lost a map in every series they played in grand finals, right? It was very close. Like I remember watching it, and I'm not trying, to belittle them or anything. Like I love Gambit. If not us, I would have loved them to win as well. And they were like, I don't mind saying, when people say Gambit were the best team of 2021, I don't mind that, right? I think we're up there with them together. Um, they were really good. I loved, playing with them. I think we scrimmed. They were our constant scrim partners, by the way. We
Mm,
scrimmed them probably 50 to 100 times during 2021. We knew every default they did. They knew every default we did. That type of stuff. So the grand finals was about to be interesting. We
mm,
had no pressure, by the way. Like the Vivo Kit incident, mental resilience shield, you know, up to the maximum for every player. Like
mm.
our players did not really care about anything after that. We lived through hell.
Yeah.
Like we didn't care. Legit, we did not care about anything. Our goal in champs was making out of group. Ideally, top 4. We wanted, better result than in Masters 3, so top 4. After we made top 4, yeah, we're just having fun, right? And fun fact, by the way, last official before, um, like our last official against Gambit, we 13-0 them on bind in Red Bull home grounds. So we're going into this, and it was like a very interesting map selection. Like nobody knows except probably me and Redgar and Eng as well. Our perma map was Haven. Permaban map was Haven. So
Yeah.
was Gambit's.
Yeah.
The second, I think, permaban or second ban for us and them was Fracture. So we had very similar map pool. However, they did not want to play bind against us. So they chose Team A, I believe,
Mm.
and ban bind. They basically forced our hand to ban Haven, which I did. I thought, listen, we tried playing Haven against Gambit before. They pulled out a Brim Reina and demolished us.
Yeah. Well, they
I
also
do not want
demolished
to see that
Envy to win a tournament.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
So I was like, okay, let's just ban Haven. Let's play their best like map pool. That's fine. So even the map pool was not really in favor for us. And that series had some crazy stuff. The breeze, the choke of Ascend, once again,
I mean, look at
winning
this. Look, a
9-3 left.
grand
Yeah,
final to start off with
yep,
this. That's rough.
exactly.
That is rough.
Ascent, Ascent was pretty comfortable for us. Then, then Fracture was. I remember
Woof.
when we saw sides. Was it Bone called Razik said, "Guys, listen, this map did not happen. Let's just go to Icebox." It was the only time I was okay with my players giving up before it's
Over
done.
here.
Because I saw like we're not winning that map. We're not. Um, and then Icebox I think was one of the
Jesus.
like the ending of that map like was one of the coolest things. Like Stark saw with a Sage boost, like all of those. It was a brawl, like with the Reina Jet from both like teams as well. It was a brawl. And this was where we won the champs. Like Split was, it was kind
Yeah.
of just how do you say, I think both teams knew who's gonna win Split. So
Mm.
Icebox was the real kind of finishing point. And yeah, the last moments I remember 5v1, everyone was like, don't throw, don't go for it or something like that. Even though
Cned just running at him.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
And
Um,
that's so cool. That's so when you won Icebox, you were like, it's done. We've won.
yeah, pretty much, pretty
Wow.
much.
I mean, that's crazy. And then talk me through that moment then. So you're like, obviously you feel like you're gonna win on Split, but like, you actually do win on Split. What's going on in your head? I assume you were in like a different room, right? Like you're not
No,
with. Oh,
no,
were
I
you
was
on
on the stage
stage? Oh,
behind.
you're on
Yeah,
stage. I mean, I can.
yeah, yeah. I think I almost broke Zeke's finger when I ran to him because I lifted him up and then I kind of smashed him. Maybe I don't remember, but yeah, I mean it was. like we actually freaking did it. Like, holy shit! It was like a lot of mixed emotions, like disbelief, surprise, happiness, um, pressure as well. I think my headache didn't stop for like, till I went to bed. And we went
Yeah.
like to after party, to press conference, to, a lot of things after we won. But it was, yeah, the headache was real. So yeah, I mean, nobody expected. We didn't expect it as well. We knew we could, but honestly, like I think like every other team, we had our own problems. So yeah, as I say to many people, I think for me the moment I cherish the most, by the way, was not even the win, but it was the walkout with the Gambit. Like that was the,
Mm,
the the type of bond I think our teams had. I think all 5 players from both teams really liked each other. I respected Aang as a coach a lot as well, and we had this kind of brotherly, bond where the walkout into grand finals with the brimstone music, that type of stuff.
yeah.
It was legendary. Like that was my favorite moment of Champions, and then second favorite was winning it. Um, but it was really cool. So it's something special for sure.
Yeah, that was I suppose the only downside to versus doing it now is obviously there was no crowd there, right? So
Yeah,
it was I mean, that must have been quite weird. I assume like it's just like 7 people screaming in like a
yeah.
massive
The thing
area.
is, like, because of the COVID, right? Like, we were not even sure if we are gonna have a champions. Like, champions
Yeah.
in 2021 was supposed to be in Los Angeles originally, and then it got kind of canceled, and then they re-announced it to be in Berlin.
Mm,
So we were not even sure if we're gonna have one. So we were happy, like crowd or no crowd, we were happy to compete. Every day, 8 a.m., you have to go and do the test for COVID.
mm,
It was rough for everyone, but yeah, I think Riot did like a really good job with like the building of arena as well. It didn't feel empty. There was like a lot of stuff inside. The lighting was made professionally as well, and like the staff as well. They were like very kind of cheery. Maybe they were trying to kind of make up for it, but it didn't really feel that bad because as a player, I've been also in tournaments where with audience and without. This one definitely felt, for the tournament without audience, it felt good. It
yeah.
felt good.
Okay. Well, that's good at least. That's good at least because it would be a bit I always think, it is a bit sad. I always think of the Sentinels when they won Masters Reykjavik. It always seemed like when they won, they were a bit like, this is weird. They were just like, woo, I guess, because like it's just like they just won, and it's like, okay, I guess we won, but there's no one there. They always seemed a bit weird. So it's kind of it's good to know that happened. But then, so we go past 2021 champs, right? And into 2022, and 2022 doesn't go quite as well, right? It's I mean, especially after winning champs, obviously, probably a bit of a disappointment, a bit of a letdown, and if I remember right, the Killers left the team at that point. So talk me through 2022 in general, and then we'll get into the partnership stuff.
Um, 2022 was just like a sad year for us.
Mm,
We wanted to um, keep the roster together after the win. Obviously, we managed to do
yeah,
that. Everyone resigned. Um, we had some problems. I cannot go like into too much detail, but the normal kind of post championship winning. Some
yeah,
ego here and there, some rockstar attitude. Maybe practice doesn't mean as much now because I'm the
mm,
world champion type of stuff. Like it's natural, I think. We're dealing with like a lot of stuff, but the main turning point was when the war started in Europe, right?
yeah,
So Silas being like he was living in Spain, but his whole family is in Ukraine,
mm,
and it was just hard, right? Like his
yeah,
obviously his performance took like a huge dip, and then Ascend made like a decision to pretty much they wanted to keep him on the bench as long as he needs, like not cut him, not cutting him out because well, it's not in his control and stuff. So they were understanding, but at the same time, the world needs to keep going. The teams needs to play, and Ascend wanted to keep winning, so they pretty much let him to be on the bench if he wants, and kind of encouraged us to make the change. Clueless did not want that. He wanted to compete, so he decided to leave himself, and then proceeded to like other teams. And up to his day, like I'm following, and he's doing really good in tier 2. Um, Kind of waiting to see if he actually can back to tier 1. I think that would be like a crazy story as well.
Mm.
But then back in the day, we also had like some other problems, and usually like me as a coach, I'm trying to prevent problems, and then sometimes when you cannot prevent problems, you have to like fix them. Sometimes it's a real fix, sometimes it's a bandage fix, right? And we had like a problem that could not really be fixed, like just kind of characters not really fitted, to be in the same kind of team. Just um, and we're like applying bandage fixes here and there. But then when you make like when we decided to make a swap for killers, we decided to replace Bone Cold as well,
Yeah.
um, just to like upgrade the team, but also at the same time fix some of the internal issues we had, and disagreements we had. I think that was a mistake looking back at it now, like letting go of Bone Cold. But I mean, we're all human. Sometimes we make mistakes. And then yeah, the new team was not as good. I mean, I think after we made the changes, we're on the same level as original team with problems, right? So we didn't really achieve anything.
Yeah.
Um, but it was as I said, it was really rough. The whole um, outside world kind of pressure into the team and all of that stuff, and then some internal problems. So we just kind of fell apart during 2022. Um, So yeah, not much to talk else. It was a pretty sad, like falling out. Even though we
Yeah.
tried to keep the players together, and
Maybe it was my fault because I got signed in summer of 2022. So maybe it was me. Maybe I was the curse because I remember signing and then watching those Ascend games and being like, oh my god, I'm going to sign for the world champions. This is going to be good. Even though things in 2022, maybe weren't going the best even before I signed, but I was like, yeah, we're going to win. We'll be fine. And then I'm watching these games trying to root for Ascend, and yeah, it was it didn't go so great for all of those games. But let's talk about 2023 though, because that obviously I would call 2023 this is where the modern era of Valorant begins, right? With the partnerships and all of
franchise
that.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't know how much you would have been involved in kind of the partnership, application. I'm sure you know some of what went on, um, and how that all went down. But obviously, it was probably a major blow, essentially, to Ascent not getting in to the partnerships. Obviously they had been the first world champions, so obviously that was kind of a big part of probably the application, I would assume. But talk me through what you were feeling that time as well. Like, because as a coach, I'm sure you're thinking like you want to be in tier 1, right? Like, was there like a part of you that was like, maybe I should leave and go to try and find a tier 1 team? Was that a part of your thinking at all?
Um, I think it was just mutually kind of the same feeling in the team for everyone. Now that the franchise or the partnership is going to be there, everyone wants to be in the partnership,
Yeah.
like just like that. Um, so first of all, we tried sticking with the sand, rooting for them to make it. After they didn't make it, as far as I know, um, they were like in the top 16 teams, but then only 10 got selected, right? It was like 10 spots initially. So they were close to making it, but they didn't. I think purely because of new org, fan base not that big, and when you're creating like a partnership system, you need a good foundation. So like I understand what Riot did, and I think Riot even said they hired like a outside firm that was doing all of these decisions or like research and stuff like that. So they're like to not be partial on whatever. So I understood, why the choices have been made. I think Ascend had like a really good shot to be kind of like German representative because there was like no real German team. However, like the European partnership ended up being even without a single German
Which I think is a
organization.
mistake, by the way. I still think that's a mistake. I still don't really understand why they did that if they're hosting it in
Yeah,
Berlin. I think that was a very, very strange decision overall to not have a single German representative. And to be honest, I think if Riot could redo it, I think they would have maybe even multiple German representatives, because I think for EMEA and
Yeah,
Tier 1 where it is now, I think that EMEA struggles a little more than the other regions in terms of like the fan base actually at the arenas. And I do think that
mhm.
might be part of it.
I think they made the decision based on how like the whole scene looked at that time.
Hmm.
At that time, German scene was very, very behind, let's say,
Okay.
behind Spanish, like
Yeah.
French and all of that stuff. That's why we had like three Spanish orgs getting
Yeah. Yeah.
selected, right? Two Giants, Heretics. Oh, sorry, not G2. I don't
Giants,
remember the third one.
heretics, and
What's the third one?
there is a
Uh,
third one. There is a
there is
third
a
one.
third one. So yeah, like I think it was it made
Koi,
sense back
Koi,
then.
Koi is the
Oh,
third one.
yes. So it made sense back then, but like if you look at German scene right now in 2025, 2 years after, it's way, way bigger than it was.
Yeah.
You had multiple organizations coming back and entering the scene, like a little bit late, yes, but they entered. And I think not having like a German representation right now it sucks.
Yeah.
I think it was a mistake. I agree with you.
But well, I mean, we're coming up to I think it's what 2027 is when those initial contracts maybe run out. So it wouldn't, and Riot has already talked about, maybe changes are coming, and actually we'll get to that later in the podcast, I think. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a change and maybe a German org did get in. So you decided to stay with Ascend, but there was perhaps a thought of like, or did you actually try to look for other offers, or was it just like
Yeah.
you did?
I tried looking for like tier one offers. I was pretty close with like some of the organizations, but they ended up like going some like with different direction. But also like you have to remember, there was like not that many opportunities
Yeah,
because all the teams that got picked, they just stayed with the roster.
yeah,
Like they were not looking to make changes, right?
yeah.
They're happy.
Which was a
So
mistake for most of those teams, I would say. A
yeah,
lot of those 2023
um,
rosters were not very
now
good.
we know. Now we know.
Yeah.
But pretty much like the partnership start did not create opportunities
Mm,
because all the pretty much all of the orgs had already rosters, so there was
yeah.
like not many openings. Um, I did have a chance to go to NA,
Mm,
um, to M80. I think it was 2023 for twice as much money than Ascend, but I decided to stay because Europe, Ascend, I built a team, I trust in the new team, and I wanted to see through.
yeah,
Like I was not really in it for the money. I mean, obviously, money is good, especially like I'm looking to build the future now. It's more important than for a 20-year-old. I'm 34 now, right?
yeah,
So obviously, financial security is important. But I chose to stay in Europe because it is my region. EU more than NA, always in my heart. So yeah, I decided to stay. I liked Ascend. I felt
yeah,
respected. I felt I can trust everyone in the organization. And the org was small, it's like maybe 7, 10 people working, right? I
yeah,
knew everyone pretty much. It was nice. It was my home.
yeah.
That's why I decided to stay.
And
I would
2023.
only
Oh no, you go. Keep going.
would have left for like tier one and not any tier one.
Yeah,
Maybe not back in the day like Koi. Now they're better. They have like Mad Lions. Took over like in
yeah,
terms of management. They're doing way better now, and I think we're gonna see that in the next year or two in terms of like the results as well. I think it should pick up for sure, but back then it was like a little bit of a mess. So like I would not have left for any tier one org. I would have left for like a good organization that I trust. Your Liquid, your Fnatic, like the
yeah.
bigger names. But I really valued like staying on the sand, and so that's what I did.
And 2023, went pretty well in tier two, right? Like it was a good year overall. Generally, Ascend were the best team in what was then East Surge.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember following a lot of those games and feeling like, yeah, this is kind of a breeze. And obviously, all this was leading up to Ascension and this Ascension tournament. And obviously, like Ascension, obviously they've changed the rules now, but for the first team that won Ascension, it was guaranteed 2 years in. There was no It was just you were into for 2 years. That's all it was, which obviously was definitely worth going for. And you get to Ascension, and essentially, going into that Ascension, at least how I read it, I don't know how you felt, but essentially there was two main competitors. It was you, Ascend, us, and Apex. Right, those were the
Yes.
kind of two main teams that everyone was kind of talking about, that everyone was kind of waiting for. And you played in the upper final, right? And what was it? Was it 2-1?
2-1.
It was 2-1. Yeah, and obviously a disappointment. Let's actually start with this game, right? Because as I say, were you going into this thinking like this is the game? This is what the grand final is going to be. These are our main
Yeah, that's
competitors.
what we
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
That's what we thought. We knew it's gonna be hard. Like for some context as well, like we knew Apex is a good team.
Mhm.
Um, I knew Apex is a good team. Main reason being they had the players, some like 2 or 3 players actually that I wanted to recruit to Ascend. But like back in the time, Magnum and Mystic were like close to joining Ascend
Mm.
when we were forming the roster. But then Apex randomly comes into the scene. They did not exist before in
Yeah.
Valorant. They come into the scene with Norwegian oil money, with budget more than 2 times bigger than what Ascend had, and then they just buy the players they want. So I
Mm.
had to like remake the roster. It was like kind of a month, maybe even in the making, and then they just whooped in and bought some of the players. So I knew personally their team is going to be good because I personally valued some of the players they had. Um, like nobody knew, Keiko was like a rookie, so obviously now we know he's insane, right?
Yeah.
But back then he was like a up and coming, duelist, good or bad, we don't know. I knew Magnum and Mystic are really good,
Yeah.
and obviously they had a good IGL in Enzo and like a very good support player in Shadow. It was like a very well built, good universal team, no gaps, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we knew it's gonna be hard, but we knew we can take them. And the matches were also kind of close. Like if you look at this Fracture, yes, we won Fracture without a pistol, so that's a bit of like a win. That's cool.
Yeah.
On Haven we got smacked. Wasn't like our best. And then Lotus I think it was like a bit of disappointment because look at the retakes. We could not win the
You do not
freaking
would see
post
this
event.
very often.
Yes, yes, yes.
7
So
retakes in
yeah,
an
yeah. Like
attack
our
side.
attack definitely felt better than 4 rounds for sure. We couldn't close some of the rounds, so they did win. Fair and square. They played better, but we knew we can take them. Still, it was just like it was
Yeah.
not elimination game. It was upper final, so we knew we can take them in grand finals. That's what we're
Yeah.
kind of trying to look forward from that point on. But
But
then,
then, but then,
but
then
then,
you run into this, and this
yeah.
is well. Here's the thing again, for a bit of context, for people who don't know. Earlier in this tournament, you beat Gentlemates 2-0. Gentlemates, early part of Ascension tournament, didn't look that good. They they
No,
looked they looked like a bang average team. They looked kind of mid.
just like Saw, just like
Yeah,
yeah,
just like any of
like
the other Ascension teams that were kind of out of it by then. It was very much it's going to be Ascend and Apex. Everyone else is kind of like okay, at best, and they're going to be gone. And then Gentlemates do this, and Natank, poor Natank, who recently got benched by Lev for some reason, and now they're fucking in the bin. But Natank does this. He drops 40 on a map. Yes, it's a deep overtime map, but he drops 40 on a map. He goes absolutely insane the entire game. I remember rounds of this game and just feeling like they cannot kill him. No matter what, he has turned on invulnerable, he's turned on cheats, they cannot kill him. He goes 83 in 3 maps. He's insane. But more than just attack, kind of just the whole team like wakes up all of a sudden and is just way better than they have shown for the entire rest of the tournament. Tell me what's going through your head during this game. Because I imagine this must have been incredibly frustrating, particularly obviously this split game.
Oh, it even started in the first map. Like we beat them on Fracture in the series before comfortably. Now we go into Fracture and we get slapped 13-4. Like I'm like, wait a moment, this is not looking too good. Um, but honestly, like it was a very simple explanation. They were on fire.
Yeah.
They had the momentum. I know what they did. What kind of routine in the morning they had, what they ate for breakfast, all of that stuff. But they were on fire and they came to fight. Like it reminded me a little bit of my like old team in champs, that type of stuff where people they're not afraid.
Yeah.
Like every timing they take is perfect and pays off. Every little scenario, micro situation done perfectly. Every hero play works. It's just momentum, and Valorant is a momentum-based game.
Yeah.
It is a very important thing. They were on fire on that tournament. Like after their initial loss, they went on fire. And as you saw, like even though they were on fire, we almost beat them on split. But we lost 0-3 in the end, and so did Apex.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing, because it isn't just this game. Like they then, it wasn't like it was one day. They then turned up the next day and did exactly the same thing and were completely on fire. And I honestly, I mean, I know that teams have gone on runs in tournaments and have looked good, but I've never seen a team like seemingly out of nowhere improve this much from like one day to the next. It's not like they came into the tournament and all of a sudden were really good. Like, oh, and their prep was just going really well, and they're just mentally in a good space. It was like mid tournament, they just fucking woke up as different people and just went absolutely insane.
we even had, if you check our composition, do you see our composition on this
Yeah,
map?
Reina, Jet.
We never played before. This was specifically crafted for Gentlemates. Specifically crafted for them. It was like to counter the double duelist die with Astra Pool, and then
Yeah,
also have Reyna and Jet play like off angles everywhere with Operator and stuff.
yeah,
It was made to counter them, and it worked so fucking nicely. But we didn't lose because of the comp. We just lost because they were on fire.
yeah. They were on fire.
Other maps were like where we played, our default comps were even worse. So this was, yeah.
Talk me through this though, because like after this game, like obviously, like this is the hard part of tier 2, right? You've worked for a whole year to get to this moment, and you're there. You're 2 games away from being in tier 1, and then all of a sudden you run into a buzzsaw, like just some people going crazy, cracked out their minds, and your season's done. It's over. What's going through your head at that point?
Yeah, like the way Gentlemates played, I respected that.
Yeah,
I wasn't even,
yeah.
you know,
I think that's the thing. It would
it
have
was a
been worse
shot.
to lose map 5 overtime. That would have been crushing. But you just got destroyed. You just got
Yeah,
destroyed by a
yeah.
team.
I think it would have been worse to lose to Apex than to
Mm,
Gentlemates to a run, because these guys went on a run, right? They were not
yeah,
stoppable. Like that those days, like it was
they,
really hard to stop.
yeah,
So, and I respect, a team being able to do that, to go like, Super Saiyan kind of mode. We've seen Crew do that,
yeah, yeah,
with Kesnet in front and all of that stuff. So I respect that a lot. I think this is like a very rare thing to have in a team, to be able to do that, and I respect that a lot. So I wasn't mad, but obviously, as you said, full year of prep, and then you're out. And how my CEO in a sense said, for us, it does not matter if you guys are second or 200th. You know, it's either win or you don't win.
yeah,
Because that's how it is for organization, right? Like they invest a lot of resources and money and everything, and then there is only one prize: it's winning.
yeah,
Obviously, making Ascension, some PR, some eyes, it's still okay. But in the end of the day, there's only one prize, and it's ascending to tier 1. So it was a disappointment.
mm.
Um, Especially, like when it happened, it did feel like crushing defeat, loss, you know, not the best kind of emotions.
I
But
always
looking,
think, I always think what the Boom CEO must have felt as they lose in map 5, like 1917 in Pacific Ascension, like in your home country. Like, oh my god, what a terrible feeling! And then you find out, like 2 days later, oh no, you're both ascending anyway. Like the mix of emotions that must have ran through them must have been insane. And now they're frying in tier 1. So yeah, just goes to show how weird things can change. But if we move on to 2024, I mean, it's 2025 going to be your year? Because it seems like odd years things go pretty well, and then even years maybe things don't go as well, because 2024 just didn't go that well.
yeah, 2024 was just like, meh,
Yeah, just
like
kind of there.
once again we tried the same approach as after a successful year. We try to keep the roster.
Hmm.
Only makes sense, right? Doesn't fucking work. So we tried to keep the roster. Our Sentinel player Monster, he went back to school,
Yeah.
so we had to find a new one. You got Chiva, um, similar level player as Monster, both really good.
Yep.
Chiva more experienced, but Monster being younger, so maybe like more, chance to improve. But she was like really, really good,
Yep.
and it fit us like a glove. Off season, we won like a tournament, almost like I think crushing everyone as well in tier two. It was cool. And then the next like 2024 starts, and we just can't find the form.
Yeah.
And my initial, like, not initial, but like after everything, my final kind of conclusion was there was not enough passion in the team. Everyone was doing 80% of what they should. They're coming
Mm.
to practice, they're showing up, they're playing scrims, they're done for the day, they're out. They're like, kind of workers coming to work, done
Mm.
with the job, out. There was no passion. There was like a lack of extra, work being put in between hours. And I felt like that was the main kind of thing. And there was no one in the team to blame, not a single person. It was just like a group kind of thing. Us as a team, we were like 80%, and that was not enough.
Mm.
It was not enough. We underperformed in like split one playoffs. We finished like fifth or sixth. We knew we have to be better, otherwise we are not even making Ascension. And we had like a really big talk with the team. Ascend was all like already kind of heavily suggesting to make changes. But I said, listen, like I trust in the roster. Give me like another chance, and they did. Um, I told this to the guys, like, listen, guys, you were like some of you were about to be cut, but I did all I could. We got a second chance. You cannot waste it. It got better for a week. After a week, it went back to the 80%, and we made a change. Um, and once again, mid-season changes with lack of time, lack of player pool. Just like in 2022, it was a side grade.
Yeah.
It did not get better. It got like maybe slightly better, but not
Yeah. Not
good
enough.
enough to like win everything. And then we finished like third or fourth or something, and we didn't make Ascension. Um, felt like fucking 2022, honestly. Like for me, it felt very similar to 2022. Mid season roster change, a little bit lack of kind of passion and fire from the players, and everything is just by a little bit missing out. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was a bit of like a sad year.
And so then Ascend leave competitive Valorant, and you then end up. Do you go straight to TSM, or is there like a period in between where you're uncertain of what you're doing, or is it like straight away?
No, I was like once again like in every season and try to look at the options and stuff. So this is like a little bit of maybe me looking at neighbor's grass and seeing it being greener type of thing. But in 2023, when we had a successful year with Ascend, right, third in Ascension, I think it
Yeah.
was okay.
Yeah.
Um, almost no teams made roster changes in tier one in terms of coaching stuff. Very
Yeah.
little,
Yeah.
maybe one or two in Europe or something like that. So there was like nobody really looking. 2024, we had a shit year. Well, not that great of a year. And then suddenly,
Everyone's
half of
changing
the
coach. Yeah.
half of the organizations or more are making a change. And because like this year, like we didn't have good results. Like I didn't get like that many, um, that much interest as well. But I did get some. I was like. Um, I had some, advanced talks with some bigger names like in Europe and also in Pacific. Like I talked to GE a little bit. I talked to Liquid. With Liquid, we actually went quite far. I think if it wasn't Lohan, um, I might have been like the head coach for them as well. Um, also, obviously, everyone wanted Bonkar. A lot of teams wanted Happy as well, which is something about going to NA, and making a reputation. So that's what I did.
So you
So
end
it's
up
like,
at TSM. Of all the
yeah.
orgs, TSM. I mean, a big name for certain. Talk me through. I mean, I don't even. Are you in America or are you? What's going on with your life
No,
right now?
no. As you probably see from my
Yes, I
Eastern
did
Eastern
think.
European
Yeah, it does look quite
kind of.
Eastern European.
So I'm still in Lithuania, like working full remote. Me and TSM actually, like it's pretty interesting because like I am kind of like an esports dinosaur. Um, in League of Legends World Championship, remember that where I played against Faker, right? There was only one game we won. It was against TSM and Reginald back in the day. They were trolling their picks. They were playing like Timo ADC. They were swapping roles and trolling the picks, and we beat them. We beat them, and they lost like 30,000 of prize pool. Obviously, they didn't care because they probably made that much by streaming in one month.
Yeah.
But for us it was the only win we got. So me and TSM we go back. Um, in PUBG, after my team in Ninjas in Pajamas, we kind of went two separate ways. Um, my teammates, they went into TSM as well. So this kind of, bits and pieces. And then finally I joined TSM as well. Um, no, yeah, like I'm full remote. If we make Ascension, I'll probably talk to them about, maybe like a bootcamp or something like that.
Hmm.
But it's full remote. Yes, it's a cool, well-known name. So far, I've been treated well. I have nothing bad to say as well. The team that like we have as well, it was like a little bit of a weird one, I have to say. When I joined TSM, they already had the roster.
Yeah.
Then we ended up making like a little bit of a change, and we ended up with this team that you see right now. So funny thing, I like I like paying attention to ranked grinders.
Hmm.
And this Vora guy that you see,
Hmm.
right? He was rank 1 player as initiator. He was playing ranked by Fade and Sova only, and he was rank 1. And even multiple accounts rank 10. I saw his stream for like 2 minutes. I knew I want him in my team. His utility usage, everything, game sense, micro situations, top level. So I reached out to him, offered him trials. We played one game. I knew I want him in my team.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to like jump too far ahead, but I'm pretty sure like this guy, he's gonna have like a good career as well. I made him into IGL. Like I like, listen, Jordan. His name is Jordan.
Yep.
I need you to be my IGL. He's like, what?
Which I mean, considering you've got some fairly. I would say like seven GMD and Sim at this point are kind of tier two NA veterans. I would say
Yeah,
that they've been around a while. Some of these players. So he's IGLing for you.
yeah, yeah. He is. He is. Like
Is,
I gave him like a very simple kind of task. GMD. We tried with GMD
mm,
IGLing because that's what on paper would make sense.
yeah.
Um, but it didn't work for this roster. Like the other guys are all super young, and they're like they're very fast on decisions, and it did not work with Anthony's like with GMD's IGLing. He's French Canadian. His English is sometimes like talks super fast with an accent,
Mm,
so sometimes people don't even like register.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I miss like 50%, but I don't tell him. Um, but yeah, we tried it. It didn't work. And we tried with Vora, and it was instantly better. And I'm like, listen, like if even without any work, it feels so much better. Like the starting point will be much higher for us. And then I spoke with him, if he was up for the task, and he said he was. So we started like very simple, just like because Vora was a very good mid rounder, and that's what he wanted. He wanted to be like the secondary caller, mid round kind of player. And I made like a deal with him. I told him, listen, I want you to be my. Um, I don't want like a micro heavy IGL. Um, I don't really believe in that as well. I want all 5 players to be able to think for themselves and call for themselves.
Yeah.
So I told him, give us a direction. Just give us a default, and then 20 seconds later we're in mid round, and that's you just do mid round then. He's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. So I kind of tricked him into being my IGL. um, but yeah, he's doing good. The team is doing fantastic as well. We did like underperform in playoffs a little bit, but the regular season was pretty good. There are some very interesting differences as well, like when I'm coming from being 4 years in Europe in tier 1 tier 2, and now in like NA's tier 2. I have to say, like, I was expecting like a little bit less in terms of like work ethic. Like my guys are actually pretty good when it comes to like working and stuff. I was
Mm.
surprised because, well, historically speaking, in most of the esports, NA is behind because they don't work hard enough. Um, Not many people say that, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people know that.
Well,
It's not
that
matched
was
enough.
certainly the kind of narrative, of like early 2021. If we go back to that, like, a lot of people were like, oh, after
Yeah,
Sen won Reykjavik, they're not really scrimming that much. They're not working hard.
but
For me, when all of this kind of narrative changed with NA and like how hard they work and it's funny that they're like probably the best team, or certainly one of the best teams in the world now, is the Guard. Right,
yeah,
people used to talk about the Guard and how much they're fucking scrimming all the time. They take everything super seriously, and now it's funny. They dropped to tier 2 as well. They come back to tier 1, and now like they're making grand finals and arguably are the best team in the world. And it's like, and I do think that was kind of a moment shift, because the Guard came completely out of nowhere. They were complete unknown, and all of a sudden they're making like a Masters tournament. Everyone's like, oh shit, maybe we should try harder. So yeah, so are there more differences though that you think? Like, is there kind of
yeah,
personality differences between EMEA, NA?
yeah. So yeah, as I said, like I expected less work ethic, but I want to make it clear from my previous esports experience from other games like League
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Legends, um, other games as well. So um, I was surprised, like my guys were actually working quite a lot and bringing stuff, and so I was very happy to see that. Um, the main difference for me though was just cultural kind of thing. In North America, because probably one of the reasons is because everyone's on the same language. Um, Everyone's way closer. Like the community is more tied together. I
yeah.
think most players know who was whose like girlfriend, what's the mom's name, dad's name, what did like working and all of that stuff. Like a lot of more personal details people know about each other when compared to Europe. In Europe, like we're divided by countries, by cultures. You have your French doing their own thing, Spanish guys doing their own thing, Turkish on their own as well. So it's like way more divided.
Mm,
Obviously, the language barrier also plays a big part in that as well. But in North America, I feel like everyone's way closer. Everyone's like way more personally closer as well. So it feels very different. I think when it comes like to Valorant itself, the game style is slightly different. I feel like NA is faster
yeah,
to evolve the metas to get on
yeah,
the new metas trained, like for sure. Um, Even to this day, like it's fourth, yeah, it's April 1st, so it's fourth month of Tejo, and I still see a lot of European, teams not do it. So it's crazy. Like that
yeah,
agent has played not in every map, but in most of the maps. It's just
yeah,
unbelievably broken. Global range, double Kaio
yeah.
molly on demand, wherever you want, every 40 seconds. Cool. Um, but yeah, like the difference is definitely there, between regions. Uh, but it feels nice to join them because it's like a kind of warmer atmosphere maybe. Uh,
Yeah.
so I definitely like it. It's cool.
It's funny you say that, because throughout the years, and teams have gotten better at this, I think, as it kind of got more professional, but especially if you go back to like 2022, anytime two NA teams would meet in a Masters, it would be a dog shit game. A dog shit game. Where teams, like, everyone is just like ego challenging because they know each other. Because it's like, I'm playing against my friends, and so I'm just gonna fucking big dick swing this guy every single time. I remember a game between Xset and it would have been Optic at the time, and FNS is fucking swinging everything on his own, just solo swinging out, taking 1v1 duels all the fucking time, because that was like, because like you say, they're closer, they know each other, they want to prove like, I'm better. I remember after every single game of like an NA versus NA team in a Masters, you'd always see them at the end of the game like pointing at like, oh look, I got 3 kills to 1 versus this guy. Oh look, I'm 7-1 against this guy. Like they would always wait until after and like gather around the screen and be like, look, I got I got this many first bloods. I'm this like scoreboard watching, and they definitely have got better at that. I think, as I say, as it got kind of more professional, and people perhaps cared about winning a bit more, maybe even, I don't know. But yeah, definitely I have noticed that, because in EMEA it was like no one would give a shit about that. You just cared if you won or
Yeah,
lost. Like no one would give a
I
shit.
was sorry for you. It was the first time ever my scrim got paused. We were scrimming like a tier 1 team, okay, in NA.
Mhm.
It's just like a couple of weeks ago. The scrim got paused on round 3 because a new Twitter drama has dropped. Imagine, like me, Eastern European coach,
Yeah.
I'm riding discipline, toughness, and then both teams agreed to pause. I was shocked, but I went with it, like
That's so funny.
it was crazy. It was
That's
crazy.
so funny. Um, okay, let's move on, because I know you'll have some takes on what I'm about to bring up as well. And you kind of mentioned it with the Teo stuff there, because there's been a lot of noise from certain pro players as well, right? Or people in the scene certainly, about the current meta. And a couple of things about the current meta, and we can kind of separate it into different parts. But first, let's start with what you talked about, which was Teo, right? Because Teo, I mean, like you said, is fucking broken. Like they've for probably the first time in quite a while, they released like a fully like broken agent, right? And so talk me through your thoughts on Teo. Maybe, I mean, I guess we both agree that Teo needs a sizable nerf. Like, what things would you hope to see? Or in general, what it's like for you as a coach. Like, would you prefer that they kind of like wait for off season to make any big changes, or do you get like sick of, like for instance, a Teo that's obviously clearly broken? Would you like just prefer like, nah, just get rid of this shit because it's too overpowered?
Tejo, the breach enabler kind of thing, Tejo introduced to the game has been the best thing that has happened to breach ever. I have to say
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, honestly, like we had many agents in the past that have been good. When they got released, they're good, but we don't really know about it. Like Chamber was like the biggest thing, I think. When he
Yeah.
got released, it took like teams maybe 3, 4 months to realize how good he is and
Yeah.
why. Obviously, it was fundamentally different. It was not just util, but like about positioning, and so
Yeah.
it takes time. With Tejo, it wasn't like that. Tejo, first time I played it, I saw how busted it is, and I
Yeah.
said to the guys, "Listen, it's very likely we're gonna play him in every map."
Mm.
And we started, like playing around with him as well, and we realized just Breach Tejo is the thing, is the golden duo, and you can kind of put it in almost every map as well, because you can cut your scans, because Tejo has the most broken drone in the game as well, that is invisible from long range and almost impossible to hit because of how fast it is. It travels half of the map, by the way, so you can clear everything. It can suppress your
Yeah.
yeah, like that. Okay, so that's one ability, right? It's really good.
Yeah.
Then the rockets. The rockets is like the most busted thing, I think, fundamentally. Um, Renewable damage ability
Yeah.
is very strong.
Yeah.
I think if they just swap the stun like to signature and
Yeah.
rockets to normal ability, that would already be better.
Yes, a lot
There's
better.
obviously like way more things you can do with it as well. I think if it stays signature, it has to be one rocket as well, not two.
Mm.
Like two is too much. It's too
Yeah.
much. The ability, like when you do rockets and breach stun, you can kill people through walls and just global kill combo, which is fundamentally not healthy for the game at all. Um, then the ult is good, but ult, you can play around it. It's kind of slow. It is an ultimate after all. But the thing is, like, I think the drone and the rockets need some serious rework type
Mm.
of thing, and then he's gonna be like in a good spot. But right now, it feels like Raze with double nade type of thing. It's
Yeah.
just so overwhelming that you can't play a lot of other stuff as well. Like I was really down to see Chamber coming back to the game. You can't. You're gonna get suppressed because you cannot shoot the suppression little crab walking at you, and you're
Yeah.
gonna die.
Yeah, we've
So
seen multiple
just
Yorus like be on a super aggro
yeah,
angle. They get suppressed by the drone. It's like, oh no. Like now I'm just absolutely screwed, and there was not too much I really could have done about it. And you know, it's funny, like I distinctly remember like when they nerfed Sky, and it was like, oh, maybe having rechargeable flashes, you know, isn't like the best idea or whatever. And I remember thinking like, yeah, there should just probably be some things that it just doesn't make sense to have on refreshable. And one of the things I was thinking about, like, oh, you wouldn't put a raise nade and have that be refreshable
Yeah.
to time. That would be stupid. And then they then they made a better one and made it refreshable. It's it honestly, like, yeah, I mean, my first reaction today was exactly like yours. Like, holy shit! Like, what this thing? I mean, because the thing is, like, drones are always good. That it's almost like it's hard to make a bad drone. Like, a drone is always going to be useful, pretty much in any circumstance. And one suppresses you as well is obviously just a benefit. And then yeah, the missiles is I hadn't actually thought about that of swapping the abilities, like you said. Someone actually mentioned it in my Twitch chat like a week ago. I was like, yeah, that probably would be a decent idea because I mean, let's face it, the stun is like, you know, it's whatever. It's not that great, right? So it would definitely be a pretty big help. But I do want to get your opinion on what do you like? And you know, because I do think that some of the pros or probably coaches as well, like they are just CS pilled. You know, they never want the game to change. They just want the game to fucking be like CS, change every 3 years instead of 3 months. Like, what is your take on that? Do you like that? You know, the maps rotate and the you know agents get updated and changed. You know, as we go on. Do you prefer that? Does it make it more interesting for you, or does it make it is it a bit of pain?
No, I love that.
Hmm.
I think that is like the core of Valorant itself is like the ever changing thing. And that's not gonna change. Like
Yeah.
League of Legends was based on that as well. You don't need League of Legends 2. You will never need Valorant 2, right? It's an
Yeah.
evolving game. It's always gonna be like it's the Riot's formula, and they're gonna stick to it. So you just need to kind of adjust some things, right? Like I really like when they increased across the board, like the ultimate
Yeah.
orbs that are needed for ults, right? Like we reached like 8 orbs and stuff like that. When before it, everything was kind of 6 at the start almost. So like just for clarity and all of that stuff, I think it would be cool to like maybe even increase the ults to like 10. So you just legit get one ult per half. I think that would be okay.
Yeah.
And just obviously adjustment to some other stuff. But I like the changes in the game. I wouldn't mind you know fast fixes as well. Like when Tejo gets released, I understand that they need to kind of give time, and they have like a tournament coming, and they have 4 regions with 4 different dates of tournaments,
Yeah.
and it's like it's a nightmare to kind of plan around for Riot. But I wouldn't mind like a fast hotfix type of thing as well when you have an agent like Tejo. Just
Mm.
just remove one rocket. Just leave with one
Yeah.
rocket. It's still
Yeah.
gonna be good.
Yeah.
Something fast. But yeah, usually I think we're gonna get the same kind of formula that we had. Bigger changes like maybe every 3 6 months, maybe twice per year, where the meta will shift, which I think is healthy. Like even though the hotfix would be nice sometimes, but at the other times it would be very hectic. You do in a professional team you are preparing 7 maps. It's a lot of work,
Mm.
right? And when Tejo being introduced to the game pretty much makes most of the teams change most of the comps on most of the maps.
Yeah.
It is a huge deal. So you can't really just throw him in and then a month later take him out, right? You
Yeah.
kind of. So I understand them like leaving it in there for a bit, but I
Yeah.
do like expect him to, be touched at one point for sure.
Yeah. I
Like his
think
drone cannot be so superior to
yeah, yeah.
to to dog and to Sova drone as well. It
Yeah.
just cannot be.
So, yeah, I definitely agree. I think I would if I had to guess, I would probably say like during Masters Toronto or like just before it is when they'll make the announcement that of the changes, and then like after that tournament will be kind of the final like Teo
It's like a
tournament.
mid-season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that will be the final Teo tournament, and we'll get some probably significant change, I would assume.
I'm down with that. I think
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah,
I like, Tico is a cool agent. He looks cool.
yeah,
Shoots rockets and
yeah.
blasts people.
Well, that's the thing. I'm surprised that they released an agent like this, but yeah, I do think it's I like it as well because it fits the kind of style of Valorant that I like as well. You know, big kind of util combos. I like util kills. We can come on to that as well because of course there have been quite a few pros. I always find it funny that oh it's safe from Vitality who's complaining, the team with the best aimers in the world. Like, oh really, you think there's too much util combos in the game and stuff. Your team might benefit from if this was just a straight shooting game. What do you think about that? Because I'm personally, I know people bring up like the initial Valorant release video, which I'm sure Riot probably somewhat regret some of the wording that they said in that, because the game obviously evolves far past what they probably initially thought. What I, again, as I say, I personally like seeing big util combos. I don't have a massive problem with utility kill. I mean, Raze has been in the game since almost the start, and so utility has pretty much always been able to kill you.
Yeah.
So I don't have a major problem with it. I just kind of think it's more of a kind of, hey, Teo's broken, and once you nerf Teo, we probably won't have such a big problem. But where do you stand on this? About, is there too much kind of good utility in the game? Would you like to see it kind of toned down?
Yeah, I think there is a reason why community brings up the project aim shooting
Yeah.
matters that thing. I think it's when it is reaching a point where we need adjustments.
Hmm.
That's when it happens. It happened like a year or two ago, and then they, like, for clarity reasons, increased the ult orbs
Yeah.
required
Yeah.
for ults. I think we're gonna see something now as well. It does not come out of the blue, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
random. Why it happens now is because of Vice and Teho.
Yeah.
Like the two latest agents, the Vice utility lasts too long. Simply
Yes.
put, the
It
wall has
does.
to
Yeah.
be shorter. The
The
thorns
thorns. Yeah.
take like
You're
two
just
thorns
standing
to
there for
just
ages. Yeah.
wrap around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is just the last two agents are like on release are very powerful, and they just need like some numbers adjusted,
Hmm.
and I think everything is gonna go back to like a good spot.
Yeah.
I
I
don't think
agree.
other agents, like, you can. We had these kind of adjustments throughout the history,
Hmm.
right? Viper has been nerfed like 8 times maybe.
Yeah.
So way less the
Yes.
Viper stuff.
Yeah.
Like Raze as well, her
Yeah.
nades got from 2 to 1, then the AoE got smaller, then the satchels don't do damage. There has been like
Yeah.
a lot
The
of
boom
changes to
butt's
her as well.
shorter. The boom butt does
Yeah,
less
yeah.
damage. The ult does less damage. The
So
ult.
all we need is just adjustments.
Yeah.
Tejo is like, what I like to say is like the useful brother of Harbor. It's like water and fire. Harbor, an agent without a single useful ability. Well, I'm joking, of course, but you know what I mean, right? And then Tejo with all 4 good abilities. So
Yeah.
it's like, this brotherly kind of thing. And Tejo just needs like a little bit of adjustment. Take away a bit from Tejo, from Vice, add a bit to like Harbor, maybe a little bit more to like Phoenix or something. Like, he has been seeing more play after the wall goes through
Yeah.
walls, kind of thing. I like that. I think it was like a cool approach.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, like, overall, honestly, the game is in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
As soon as like Tejo and Vice just gets like a little bit toned down, um, I think a lot of agents can be played. I
Yeah.
think it's like in a good healthy spot.
Yeah, and I mean,
Otherwise,
you take a look at the agent pick. This is from Masters Bangkok,
beautiful.
and yeah, like, this is much better than a lot of, like, if you go through all of the masters, particularly some of the early ones. Obviously, there was less
Oh yeah,
agents then, but like some of the early ones, it's like there's literally only 7 agents getting played. Like, there are 7 agents who are getting played, and some of them at like 80%, and the rest just aren't even worth considering. Whereas, as you say, obviously more so now, if we take a look at like stage 1 pick rates, it probably would be Teo even higher, Vice probably a bit higher as well. But across the board, generally, as you say, I think once those two get nerfed, um I think we'll be in a pretty good spot overall, with a lot of agents, kind of, if they can get those changes right, I think we can end up in a very healthy spot, which I mean, I think for a while, I think the Valorant meta hasn't been too bad overall. I know there's be obviously some complaints all the time, but generally, it hasn't been too bad. So, yes. Let's what time are we on? Oh, okay, yeah. Let's start coming towards a little bit of an end here. Let's talk about changes in Valorant then. So, from your perspective, obviously it sounds like you're pretty positive about the game in general and how the game flows and how it changes from time to time, which personally I'm very much on board with as well. I think obviously your background, the league background, which we started with, as you say, is probably, you're familiar with Riot and how it works, and you like that. Um, Me too, actually, because I come from Riot's card game, I suppose, was a game that I was playing a lot, so I too was familiar with that kind of thing. But what would you, if you could change Valorant, um, and you can go anywhere with this, right? You could talk about, like, obviously you're in tier 2, and maybe like the Leo Faria hinted at, maybe in 2027 there'll be like 8 partnership slots and 4 Ascension, kind of teams, or potential for tier 2 teams to make masters, those kind of things. Like, what would your kind of pressing issues in Valorant be right now that you would like to see change?
I think like quite a few things that I had in mind before are actually being done by Riot. I think like in Europe this year, in tier 2, they added tournaments between regions,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
Europe had like 8, 10 different kind of leagues, and nobody would play each other until Ascension.
Yeah.
Um, they added like a kind of, after every split there is like a mini tournament international in between leagues. So I think that was really cool. That's something I wanted in the game. Um, Next thing is what you mentioned as well. There was like the rumors from Riot or whatever that they're thinking. Well, that's what Leo Faria said, right? Like it's on the table. They're not sure yet, but there might be changes to partnership system where we get more Ascension spots and less partnership. Because, well, let's be honest, some of the partnership teams are just fucking clueless. And I think having like a little bit bigger rotation would be cool. The partnership system has to be stable still
Yeah.
for like the whole scene to have like a good foundation. So I think 8 probably should be the minimum per region that you can have, and maybe make 4 Ascension spots. But that also introduces a lot of different challenges when it comes to logistics and
Yeah.
stuff. If it's just 1 year, like I can tell you, I spoke to Ascend when Riot changed the Ascension slot from 2 years to one. For any organization, right, in Europe that is not based in Berlin, you have to move to Berlin. Your
Yeah.
base of operations, you have to be in Berlin. The stipend that Riot gives is probably not even enough for the year to cover the cost. So even when you're winning Ascension, you're like on a net loss as an org. It's just not sustainable, right? So there are like a lot of these kind of problems that might arise from that. But if you're not looking at the problems, it would be cool, like more Ascension spots, more
Yeah.
rotation, more international tournaments. All that is cool.
Yeah.
My biggest take, what I want in this game, I'm not very like confident that we're gonna get it. I want some sort of picks and bans.
Mm.
So maybe at the start, make agents unique, that you cannot have two jets on the same, like introduce
Mm.
picks. I don't know if ever this is going to be a thing in Valorant because of some like fundamental kind of things. First of all, we don't have maybe that many agents yet. Maybe
Yeah.
like now we're approaching a point where we could do that. The balance has to be at a very good spot, and we need enough agents. We could try start picking, and then maybe later you can add like a ban or something. Like I don't think we have big of a champion like an agent pool
Yeah.
to have bans already. But imagine if you made it unique and you have to pick, right? So there's only one Viper on Icebox. There is only like one Sova on Icebox as well. um, if you pick a Tejo first pick and your opponents take Breach away, now you cannot combo. Maybe you're comboing with Deadlock instead. So
Yeah.
it would change the preparation a lot. I would like that, by the way. Me as a person, like I don't like big playbooks. I like more as a coach as well. I pay more attention to the foundations of the team,
Mm.
fundamentals, communication, micro plays, everything that works on whatever comp you play, on whatever map you play. That is like my main kind of, as I like to say, like I don't focus on the tip of the iceberg, but I focus on everything below. So like the comms and the agents are like the last bit of prep when it comes like in teamwork. So I would love to have more variety in the game and to have like every game different. It would make teams have to be way more diverse and universal
Yeah.
when it comes to players as well. Like you have these players like Forsaken. Imagine how
Yeah,
valuable he would be on any team where a guy
yeah,
can
because
play
he can play.
anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that would be very cool. It would be quite a big change,
Yes, it
but
would be a
this is
very
something that,
seismic change. But
yeah,
but the thing is, of course, it's in their other game, so it's like, it could feasibly happen, I think. And the thing, if they're going to do it, we'll probably actually get some more hints about that they're going to do it with the agents that they release in the future, right? Because if they release an agent that is like, obviously, like, you've got Fade and Silver, right? But they are
yeah,
quite different in terms of like the range that you could do, and some of the stuff you can do. But if they release like a third recon that is like quite similar to Silver, that is when you'll start seeing like, oh, maybe this can now start to be a thing. Because if they like, and the thing is as well, as we design more and more agents in the game, as I'm sure you're familiar with League, there's a fuck ton of fucking champions in that game, and like, you know you're eventually gonna end up with similar design spaces, right? They won't be
yeah,
exactly the same, of course, but you're gonna end up in a very similar space. So far, there's probably like, few enough agents to where they've been able to kind of, make them unique enough right now. But give it like 4 years, and eventually you're gonna end up with some agents that are like, how would you make another, like, you've already got Killjoy Cypher. How would you make another Sentinel that is like similar, like in a similar space to them, without like one of them just being completely fundamentally useless? But at some point, right, it's gonna have to make that agent, because it's gonna have been, because Killjoy and Cypher have been in the game since the start, and they're gonna want to make another Sentinel that's kind of in that space. So I think once we start getting to that point, then I think we might see that. But the thing is, like, that would be a massive fundamental shift to the game, right? And how pro teams have to prepare for games and stuff like that. Because, of course, right now, if you're fucking DRX, right, you're just running the fucking same exec with the same agents, a million fucking times and getting it perfect. Whereas, obviously, if there was a pick and bans, you'd probably spend a lot more time, as you say, with, and certain players like Forsaken, as you say, would be much more valuable in terms of their their kind of you know flexibility, and obviously ranked as well. I mean, to be fair, I think in ranked it might improve ranked. Honestly,
it would be cool. I think
I,
rank would
I
be the
think I
place
think
where it would,
ranked would be improve if you added it like right now. Um,
yeah,
I mean, the fucking coin flip for who can get Reina first would be
yeah.
would be funny.
No more double Reina, double Claw every game.
Yeah,
I think it'd be nice.
yeah, it would be nice. So yeah, I'm kind of down right now. Um, but yeah, I think I think we might be out of time. This was fun though. I mean, I fucking love going back to like the early days and some of the fucking shit that went on. I'm sure you have many stories of, that maybe aren't eligible for broadcast,
Yeah,
that you could tell about the early days of Valorant and what a shit show everything was. But hopefully we're past that now. I want to thank you for joining me and being here, back with Ascend here in Cosmic Divide. Um, do you want to finish by saying anything special?
yeah. Thanks for having me. First of all, I want special shout out to Ascend. Um, always will be place in my heart as well. To all the fans throughout like those 4 years as well. It's really cool. And shout out to you, TMV, for making this podcast. It's my uh, second go-to podcast after Platchat, unfortunately. But I see you there as well, so I think it's cool.
Yeah, I'm just
Um,
fucking everywhere.
so yeah, yeah, like just I love talking Valorant. I love other people see like watching others talk Valorant. So podcasts is really cool, and I love the fact that we're actually getting a bit more. Like I've seen Energy do like a little bit, and Yinso on
Yeah.
VCT in Europe as well. So I think it's cool. So yeah,
And
thanks
and
for
what
having me.
what's happening with TSM? When is the next tournament in Tier 2 NA?
It's next week. We're gonna be playing like it's our split two starting. It's just like a regular season tier
Yeah.
two. It's nothing interesting, honestly. But like we are happy to get officials, but um, like our structure is just 3 splits and then Ascension. So we're still like kind of far away from that. Um, But yeah, we're gonna be playing next week. I think on Tuesday. I'm not really sure because these organizers that we're like dealing with, they sometimes just give you a schedule one day before. So like we're kind of on our toes a little bit here. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna be next week. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for joining me, and I hope you all have a nice day. Have a nice day, MBS. And that's it from us. Thanks.